I think my kid's school lied about calling CPS rather than calling my husband to pick her up. Our daughter 7 started school last month. I told the front office under no circumstance should they call me if something happens to her, especially Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I work and I'm not allowed to have my phone on my person while working. They were told explicitly to call her father, who works overnight, but is home all day as a result. I get to my lunch break today, and what do I find but 16 missed calls from the school? I assume she's been hospitalized or there's been an active shooter. Something horrible that warrants 16 calls to the parent they were told not to call. I call the school frantically before even looking at my voicemail and find that they called me because she threw up. Threw up. Blood? Nope. Regular throw up. But because I didn't answer, this woman considered it abandonment and made a call to CPS. I asked if they had called my husband. Nope, just me, and I didn't answer, which isn't allowed. I called him and he went to pick her up. There was a woman sitting with her in the nurse's office who was also there during orientation night, but she wasn't our kid's teacher or administration, so we didn't get introduced to her. As soon as my husband got there, she scurried off, and when he asked the woman at the front desk who she was, she reiterated that she had called someone about your wife abandoning your daughter, and told him that if it happened again, it would be a lot more serious, and we should consider making sure mum's always there when her kid needs her. There is no fucking way that a CPS agent is just hanging around this school at all times and didn't bother to stick around to lecture a parent who abandoned their kid when they showed up. I think they lied because they don't like that dad is supposed to be their primary point of contact. I'm going to follow up with the principal when I've calmed down, of course, but what the actual fuck? In the comments, frustrated DIL says, "I'm sure it's well documented. They need to follow the communication orders you give them. They don't get to decide that the mother must answer. I would threaten a lawsuit if they continue this behavior and make false CPS reports." I would do more than threaten. I agree. I would retain legal counsel and threaten a defamation action for the falsehoods and misrepresentations to CPS. I would then file a police report for harassment. The school employee was absolute chicken shit in doing what she did. She should be reprimanded. As I understand OP, the school also has someone impersonating CPS, right? The school admin told OP that she had called someone because of abandonment, and it turned out to be a woman who had been present during orientation night but wasn't introduced to the parents, and now she's been sitting with OP's sick daughter. I think OP should get to the bottom of this. Refusing to call the other parent because she didn't want to should be grounds for termination. Calling CPS, claiming abandonment was a lie, and that should also result in a termination. As a mother, I won't judge you if you end up cussing her the fuck out. I hope OP gives us an update when she cusses them out and gets a lawyer involved. Child abandonment? Are you freaking kidding me? Oh hell no. Your child has 2 parents. They have been unable to reach both parents to claim abandonment, not just unwilling to call dad because misogyny. Mum should be available? What year is it? And this is after you left clear, specific instructions. Absolutely make that complaint. You're right, this is ludicrous. Is it documented that you were unavailable for those 3 days, or is dad listed as the primary contact? OP says, both. It was all written down explicitly when we were filling everything out. He's the primary, and I'm the secondary with special instruction. Her grandmother is the emergency contact and also wasn't called. Oh, that's a new detail that you can add to your post. Skip the father and the emergency contact and go straight to CPS for the emergency of abandonment. Roll my eyes, even if it is just a hollow threat. They need to explain in simple words what the point of having these contacts is if they don't frickin' use them. Holy shit, I would be so pissed if I was OP. I wouldn't even be making hollow threats at this point. I would be making very substantiated threats and demanding that this woman be fired from the school for that. She is such a pussy that after doing all of that, she scurried away to hide from them after knowing that she was messing them about. What a spineless and cowardly individual she is. I genuinely am angry for OP in this situation and think that woman deserves to be terminated from her position. And hopefully, following that up, blacklist her from working with schools again. That is genuinely sick what she did. Do not threaten to call CPS on parents when you failed to do your job. What a sick and twisted individual. It's just like that headline that I've seen recently, the woman that's going to jail for I think 10 days. She was an emergency line operator for 000 over there. And she's involved with at least one murder that she allowed to happen because she has a history of hundreds of phone calls of just hanging up after 20 seconds on these people because she didn't want to talk to them. Shit like that grinds my gears, and we should bring the full force of the law down on people like that. And now, onto the update. Hi everyone. First off, thanks for everyone for their supportive comments, especially Bajan Beauty Katie for the email template. That was very nice, although I did start off by sending something less confrontational. To answer the most common questions, the school had documentation to call my husband or his mother ever since we enrolled there. I double-checked our computer portal with the school website, and it's still listed that way, including that I can't be contacted for anything that might be time-sensitive. I cannot have my phone on my person while I'm working, period. My workplace has an automatic answering machine for public calls, so even if the school did call them, I wouldn't get the message for probably half an hour at the absolute best. And even then, I work about 30 to 40 minutes away if traffic is good. Yes, I am in a more traditional area, although it's never been too huge of a deal before besides having to commute to the city for work. This is not going to be the super dramatic update that I'm sure a lot of people are hoping for. Sorry? First off, I did not jump straight to getting an attorney to threaten them. I did call and ask a local family law firm, and the person that I spoke to told me that if we did have to go as far as suing, it would look better to try to exhaust other options on my own before threatening legal action. But they would be happy to look over any communications between us, and we could CC them on any emails, and asked me to get any information on the potential neglect/abandonment case that I could while they looked into it as well. I started by sending a follow-up email to the principal and CC'd the superintendent and law person on it, asking for confirmation that they had checked our file for who to call, more details on who exactly was spoken to at CPS, any case numbers, and the name of the person who was sitting alone with my sick daughter and did not speak to my husband or identify themselves. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the principal was out of town for several days with some family emergency. After a day with no reply, the superintendent emailed me directly asking for more details. I sent them an email outlining exactly what had happened from our perspective, screenshots from my phone, my husband's phone, and his mother's phone showing the phone calls and lack of them. Monday, the principal finally got back to us and we got some answers. The woman sitting with our daughter was one of the school counselors, just not the one assigned to her. No one actually contacted CPS, there is no open case against us. That was just a straight-up lie. The woman who told me that she had actually called the school's social worker, not CPS, who then sent the counselor to sit with her, instead of, telling her that that was ridiculous or going himself. The counselor claims that she was under the impression that she was just keeping our daughter company until the parents arrived, since there was no nurse that day. But if that was the case, she should have at least said hello, right? And I'm not sure if he was supposed to tell me this, but apparently this isn't the first time that they've had issues with how she responds to fathers or male caregivers in general, which I want to know, if that's the case, why didn't anyone do anything about it before? What the hell? As of now, she's been suspended pending investigation. Obviously, these aren't all of the details, but this is the gist of it. I'm sure a lot of people were hoping to hear that I'd sued the school for defamation, harassment, threatening, whatever else, and gotten that stupid woman fired for being a misogynistic bitch. But this is what we've got, lol. In the comments, woman in question says, "It sounds like the woman's behavior will be doing all of the work of getting her reprimanded and/or fired." And OP says, "Hopefully fired. You should still be talking with an attorney. 16 missed calls to you definitely implies something very serious had occurred, and she should not have put you in such a situation. Even if it wasn't a major emergency, she did not reach out to your daughter's contact, She needed someone to come get her, especially considering that there was no nurse at the school at the time. Her telling you she had called CPS is threatening, and saying you abandoned your daughter is crossing a line. And the school admitted to you that this is not the first time she exhibited this behavior. At a minimum, your attorney should confirm she is fired. Yours might just be the first time they have actual evidence of what's gone on, so good on you for taking the time to collate it all. I agree. This might be the first time they've ever had parental pushback when the contact instructions were flat out ignored. The fact that the employee not only repeatedly called the wrong person, but told lies about calling CPS, really does compound the problem for her. Thank God it wasn't a serious medical crisis where the employee delayed calling the correct person or persons on the contact list. In the event that that ever happens, there will certainly be attorneys CC'd on correspondence, but they'll be there in a professional capacity rather than merely reviewing the emails as a courtesy to the parents. If the school administrators have any wisdom, they will read this employee the riot act and tell her how she's exposing them to legal problems by not following clearly written contact instructions. I got my jimmies in a twist over this one, guys. I'm still angry over it. The comments are not doing me any favors. They are making me angrier about this situation. I guess this is the resolution that it's come to, that she is getting fired for it. If we lived in a just world, she will be fired. I am praying for her downfall. Because yes, like that commenter said, what if this was a serious medical emergency? What if she had delayed that child getting help because she wanted to be whatever she was being in that moment? This is a genuinely serious situation that I would be raising hell for if I was in OP's situation. And I'm glad to see that they did go get legal counsel and figured out how to go ahead with this. That was very smart of them to do that. Thank you for the story and thank you for the update, OP. Good luck with it all. Our next post is by user A Live Specialist, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for hiding my ALS diagnosis from my grandpa?" A year ago, I, 25 male, was diagnosed with limb-onset ALS after a long struggle with experiencing foot drop and muscle weakness. For a few months, I hid my diagnosis from everyone until progression of the disease forced me to come clean. To be honest, I'm still coming to terms with this, and each day has been a living hell as I wake up not knowing what motor skills I will lose next. I have always been fiercely independent and the protector of the people I love, so it kills me knowing that everyone who loves me, my girlfriend especially, now has to bear the burden of my illness. The person who I haven't told is my grandpa, who raised me and my brother until we were teens because my parents were at work all the time. He's the one who cared for me the most, who has literally watched me grow up. I have always promised to take care of and give him the best of everything because he sacrificed so much to give me as much of a happy childhood as he could. Ever since I was diagnosed, the thought of having to tell my grandpa that his grandson has an incurable, degenerative disease has plagued me, and I don't think I can gather up the courage to tell him or to face the fact that I can't fulfill my promise. He is nearing 70, and I want him to live as happily as possible without worrying about me. The other day, we met for a family dinner. I don't see my grandpa very often now, so before the dinner, I was adamant that my grandpa would not find out. My brother and girlfriend agreed to cover for me using a wheelchair by saying that I'd been injured playing soccer. Grandpa accepted the excuse, and all seemed to be well until my cousin, who wasn't aware that my grandpa didn't know, brought it up. As I expected, he was devastated and couldn't stop asking why I didn't tell him. Later that night, the sudden emotional shock likely triggered his heart condition. He has a history of heart attacks. My grandpa is now in the hospital, and I haven't been able to stop crying. My brother is furious at my cousin for revealing my diagnosis, even more so for not being apologetic, since she's insisting that it's my fault because I should have just been more honest with my grandpa. She called me manipulative and a liar and said that it wasn't my place to decide whether grandpa could handle it or not. The guilt is eating me alive, but at the same time, the aftermath just tells me that I was right to hide it because the news absolutely crushed my grandpa. I don't know what to do anymore except pray that grandpa makes it through. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Anxious Reporter says, "No assholes here." Oh, love. I'm so sorry. That's such a heavy diagnosis. You are not an asshole, but at 69, your grandpa could live for another 20 years. You aren't going to be able to hide it forever, and he's a grown man. He doesn't need protecting from reality. He'll be devastated for sure. Who wouldn't be? His precious grandson facing such a hard prognosis? His heart will break, but that's part of life. And the earlier you know about something horrendous, the sooner you can start to process it, you know? Your cousin didn't realize you hadn't told him. She's not an asshole for bringing it up. It's a big thing, and your loved ones are going to want to talk about it. It's awful that your grandpa is in the hospital, but that's the best place for him to be, and I'm sure they're doing all they can for him. And it's not your fault or your cousin's fault. It's natural to want to grasp onto blame when bad things happen, but it really doesn't help. Give yourself and your cousin some grace. You've both had very human reactions to a shit situation. Rothwell says, maybe the cousin wasn't the asshole for bringing it up because they didn't know, but their reaction afterwards turned them into one. Calling a terminally ill person a manipulative liar for wanting to tell people on their own time isn't shitty behavior. Soft, you're the asshole. I think it's naive to think that the rest of the family will just never spill the secret, quote-unquote, because unless no one knows, it's not a secret. Family always talks. I also think your grandpa deserved to hear it from you. That said, I understand the fear you have. You're in a no-win situation and unable to do a damn thing about it. If you can, seek counseling, lean on your family. You don't have to be alone. Edit, I forgot something. Go to him and explain why you were scared. I'm sure he'll understand because he loves you. Grandpa is the only person being kept in the dark. Really shitty of the entire family, in my opinion. Would it be better to break the news when OP's condition has progressed to the point where he can't speak? I don't get how he thought that he could keep this secret from someone so important to him. It had to come out eventually. Back up to the post, there's an edit. Thank you all for your responses, and especially those who expressed things from my grandpa's perspective. I'm not sure how much this changes, but my cousin's husband saw this post, and now cousin is livid. My brother just got off a call with her, and apparently he did actually tell her not to say anything and let me take the lead. Just that she highly disagreed, so I guess this was her way of voicing her disagreement. I didn't know about this part, so I assumed the benefit of the doubt that she didn't know. Again, appreciate everyone, and will be hopefully visiting my grandpa as soon as we get more news about his condition. With that edit in mind, I'm gonna say not the asshole on OP's side, you're the asshole for the cousin. And look, I get that regardless of the edit, people will still think that OP is the asshole for not just telling grandpa earlier, but they are not the ones that have to bear the ALS. That is something that OP has to deal with, and at the end of the day, OP gets to decide what their timeline is. OP gets to decide who hears it and when they hear it. OP also had very good reason to keep this from Grandpa, because look what happened, Grandpa had a heart attack after hearing the news. This only confirmed that it was right for OP to delay the news until Grandpa was in a good place to hear it and not have a physical reaction to the news. That cousin is worse than scum for forcing the news upon Grandpa through such a shocking surprise, and they are the one that should have the entire family come down on them, everyone come down on them, for forcing Grandpa into this situation, because that is their fault. That is not OP's fault. From my point of view, that is not OP's fault that this happened to Grandpa. So yeah, not the arsehole, OP. And now, onto the update. Appreciate everyone who commented both support and honest criticism. Been making the most of whatever time I have left since then. Some of you were sharp and picked up that my ALS is fast progressing, which is very accurate considering how recently it's felt like jumping off one cliff after another, which I'm pretty shocked by. In a way, I do thank my cousin for spilling my secret, because I didn't expect how little time I had left before I couldn't hide it. My grandpa did pull through though, recovered, and handled things like a champ. He's not in perfect health, and obviously neither am I, but we make it work. Per everyone's suggestions, I visited him ASAP and we had a long talk. I showed him my post as well, with lots of tears and emotional moments. I apologized for hiding my condition and promised to be transparent with him from now on. Although I got nagged and lovingly lectured at, I do think I felt relieved to get that emotional weight over with. Grandpa said a lot, and I can't include everything, but the main two things were, 1. He'd already sensed that something was off, though he wasn't sure exactly and definitely did not expect ALS, and 2. He needs no protection from reality and wants to support me in any way he can. He'll be moving in with me and my brother, and we're looking at hiring caregivers so my brother is not overwhelmed. I've begun voice banking due to speech changes, mostly hoarseness and slight slur. Basically like a drunk Mickey Mouse. While the people closest to me can still somewhat understand what I say, Grandpa tops everyone else and is proudly serving as resident translator. Honestly, pleasant surprise how well he gets my speech, but so grateful he's gifted these precious moments amidst the frustration. I've since gone low contact with my cousin for a variety of reasons, namely constantly disrespecting my wishes. The major one being that she came into my house knowingly with a cold, even while we had already warned people not to visit if they were sick in any form. ALS screws with my immune system, and at this stage, it's very easy for my respiratory system to become compromised, even with minor illness. Minimal breathing issues so far though. I've learned a lot about myself and life in general through this disease, and given the aggressive progression, am now mentally preparing to make some hard decisions. When I first learned about my diagnosis, I rejected tracheotomy/invasive ventilation and feeding tube, but recently I've begun to reconsider. I think the worst feeling is just being terrified of both living and dying. Trying to stay in a good place mentally and emotionally, and always grateful to have people that I love and people who love me by my side. I know this update isn't all sunshine, but I hope it gives some closure. Thanks everyone. In the comments, GSD Enthusiast says, I remember reading your original post when you first wrote it. I'm glad you're surrounded by the people you love, and I wish you all the best. Make your decisions for you and only you. Your choices are what matters. I'm so glad that you have your grandpa in your support system now. I'm wishing you the best on this journey. Steve Gleason is a former NFL player who was with the NO Saints. He's been living with ALS since 2011. There is a documentary about him and his family. His wife and children played a large part in his decision to go and remain on ventilation, which is okay. I've already had 2 people in my life diagnosed with ALS. Neither opted for ventilation, and that's okay too. This is such a tough disease, and the choices have to be made by you because you are the one who ultimately experiences the disease. It's great to see your grandfather, girlfriend, and brother are supportive, loving, and helping in the capacities they can. Having them in your life makes a difference. I read your previous post and this one. Your boundaries are important, and your people are very respectful of that. Whatever choices you make, they will be the right ones for you. I'm sorry this is happening to you. You seem like a wonderful human. Edit, your cousin can kick rocks. Someone who disrespects your wishes regarding your medical information and then disrespects your life by ignoring boundaries isn't a supportive human. I agree too. I'm still pissed off at that cousin. I'm not going to take back what I said about that. Yes, it was a blessing in disguise for OP, but at the end of the day, OP's choice was taken away from him. I wish OP nothing but the best going forward with this. Having it so rapidly progressing would be terrifying, and I can't imagine what they're going through right now. I'm so glad that Grandpa made it through. I'm so glad that he is there for you, supporting you as best he can, and I hope that you guys make the most of whatever time you have left together. The setup that you guys have and the time you have together is a blessing, and I hope that you make the most of it, and I know you will. I have full faith in you too. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update, OP. Good luck. Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.